Just found this channel and fell in love. Keep up the great work. +1 sub. Hey guys. If you write a nice comment under the latest video, you get the chance to be shown in the next video. Redditors with real life butterfly effect stories. What happened and what was the series of events and outcomes? Was going out to grab pizza and a case of beer for me and my roommate, but he texted me that he had a stomach thing, so I walked to a restaurant and ordered dinner at the bar and met a girl there, and now we are married and have 2 kids because my roommate had diarrhea. TL. Duh. I overdrafted and caused 4 marriages and 5 babies. Longer version. I was just out of high school and new in town with no job. I was living off what savings I had left, and my account went below zero without me knowing. I was overdraft charged like 10 times and owed $300 plus. I went down to the bank, spoke with the teller, and she ended up being a lifesaver. She worked with me and got all the charges removed. On top of getting the charges removed, we got to talking about my situation, and she said that her son worked at a local restaurant and she would help me get a job. She was a woman of her word, and by the end of the week I was working full time. Fast forward, I meet a cool dude who worked there. We became friends. I introduced him to my sister. They fell in love, got married and had 2 kids. His best friend came into town for the wedding and I introduced him to my roommate at the time. They fell in love, got married and had 2 babies. I also got my best friend a job at the restaurant where he met a girl working there. They fell in love, got married and had a kid. Right before I left, I got my roommate a job at the restaurant where he met a customer, fell in love, got married and had a kid. As a bonus, my best friend, who I helped get the job, repaid the favor and got me a job at a different restaurant where I met a girl, fell in love and got married. Pregnant cousin usually takes the bus at around 5:10 PM after work. She was about to hop inside the bus, but she needed to pee really badly, and the commute is about an hour long, so she decided to go to the restroom instead and just catch the next bus. That 5:10 bus ended up falling from a cliff. I was walking to school and got distracted by a hedgehog that ran in a bush next to me. Then a big ass tree branch fell in front of me. World crushed me if I didn't get distracted by a spiky little mouse scurrying in the bushes. I gave him a dead cricket the next day. He took it and ran off. Godspeed, Spiky Mouse. Received an incredibly high paying job offer to run our biggest competitor's team. Told my boss, even though I loved my job, but it was more than double what I was making. Boss agreed to a reasonable raise, still not near the offer. I decided to stay because I genuinely loved my team/cowhawkers, and the money wasn't enough to leave that happy place. In exchange, I had to take up another account. That meant a business trip I didn't have in the plans. Went on that trip and met my future husband. Couple of years later, we went on our honeymoon at a new resort in St. Lucia. Ran into someone I knew from home/work. Turns out, the team that I'd been given the job offer for had made so much money that they had booked the same resort to celebrate. I sat there and went, wow, life is nuts. World ended up there, either way. I procrastinated one day in high school by watching a foreign musical on YouTube. I ended up trying to learn the lyrics and eventually the language. That led me to discovering the field of linguistics, which I'm now majoring in. I don't know what I'd be doing now had I actually started doing my homework that day instead. If my biological mom hadn't asked her parents to watch me for a couple hours and then left town, I wouldn't have had the incredible and privileged life that I was given through adoption. My younger half brothers were raised by our biological mom and they are a total freaking mess. I'm more of a mom to them than their actual mom, and I would have been an absolute wreck also if she'd kept me. Instead, I was given an amazing private education, all the sports and musical adventures, and most important, a healthy, loving home with 2 parents who taught me that just because you share blood doesn't mean you love, and just because you didn't give birth to a child doesn't mean you can't be their parent. The wife and I were having dinner in Hawaii one night on vacation. As we were getting up to leave, I noticed she hadn't finished her beer. I told her she should finish the beer since we paid some ridiculous price for it. Fast forward 30 seconds, and we leave the restaurant and are walking the 3 blocks back to the hotel. About 50 feet in front of us as we're walking down the sidewalk on the left side of the road. A car comes flying out of a side street from the right and crosses through the street, hops the sidewalk in front of us, and smashes into a wall. If she didn't finish her beer, we would have been smoked by the car and most likely squished between the car and the wall. We always finish our beer now. When I was 18 I had a girlfriend, and her older brother owned a small company. He said to me, "You know, I think you'd be pretty good at this job." I'm 34 now, and have a legitimate career that I love, because I dated a girl for a bit. I also had a cat for the better part of that time period, because of the girlfriend. I'm a cat person now. Nearly every single friend I have in colleges, because one day in my gen ed health class we had to pick a seat that would become our seat for the semester. When I came in there weren't many seats left, and the people I sat next to ended up becoming my best friends and introduced me to all of my other friends in one way or another. Just last month, a friend of mine told me a story from his recent heartbreak. He, let's call him Mickey, had been with this girl, Minnie, for almost 4 years when out of nowhere, she told him she is leaving him and moving out. He had no idea the relationship was in jeopardy, but she dipped. Anyway, a few weeks go by. Mickey is hanging out with a coworker of his with who he had just recently met, and ends up back at his place just to hang out. On the fridge, he sees a note in Minnie's handwriting. The note detailed several issues in Mickey and Minnie's relationship, and so Mickey asks his new friend where he found this note. Turns out, this new buddy had gone to the same music festival as Mickey and Minnie a few months prior. The friend had found the note on the ground of the parking lot and thought, wow, what a sad and angry note. I'm going to keep this, because it's so raw and interesting. The next day, Minnie came over to pick up some of her things. Mickey produced the note, and it led to a long tear-filled conversation about their relationship and what went wrong. They didn't end up back together, because despite the pseudonyms, this is no Disney story. However, the resulting discussion helped them both achieve closure in a meaningful way. All because a random coworker found and kept her discarded note in a festival parking lot. Edit. A bunch of you are saying Minnie was hooking up with the coworker, but I can assure you, that was not the case. Mickey and Minnie had never even met the coworker, as Mickey and the coworker both work jobs for a massive company and had never crossed paths until well after Minnie left. Mickey and him had just become friends days after the breakup. As for why he kept the note, he's just that kind of guy. He was moved by the content of the note, so he kept it. They weren't having an affair or anything, and if they were, that'd be well over because Minnie moved to another city the same week she left Mickey. Don't be too cynical, folks. Sometimes things just don't work out. Edit 2. And for those thinking Mickey is partly at fault for the relationship ending and being oblivious to the reasons for her sudden leaving, of course he is. And he recognizes this. He recognizes his role in the situation and doesn't hate her or anything. He just wants her to be happy and is heartbroken over both of their failures in making that happen. He's a good guy and he's learning. Edit 3. For people saying I'm in fact Mickey, I'm not I'm happily married for 1 year and you could probably comb through my other comments to prove it if you really wanted, but that would be boring. However, if you prefer the narrative that I'm Mickey, far be it from me to dissuade you. Grew up speaking Spanish, so in high school my mom made me sign up for French. I didn't really care, but figured whatever, at least it's something new. I was a good kid, bit of a cut up with absolutely zero direction. In that class I met a girl, and we sort of became friends. She got sick that year, cancer. It was horrible. Visited her in the hospital, got close to her family, still am. She passed the following year. French, it turns out, was her favorite subject and her dream had been to study abroad. Her parents asked if we, her friends from that class, could do that for her. The years went on. I worked every summer trying to save up to study abroad. I noticed the others who had made the promise weren't making moves towards it, so I worked even harder. Finally went for a semester my 3rd year. TBF, I always enjoyed French, but it wasn't a passion. Except that semester something kind of shifted. Came home, finished undergrad, then got into a master's in French. The whole time my friend's mom is excited, feeling like my friend is somehow vicariously living through me. I graduated from my masters and then moved back to France. Been here 3 years now, and May 1st was the 11th anniversary of my friend's death. As I type it out, it's not so outwardly obvious, but the entire time it's been so clear for me that she's been with me on this journey. Almost everything that has happened in my life for the past 8 years is a direct result of me literally flipping a coin to decide between 2 colleges. I play the sport I do, have the friends I do, am dating the person I am, and very nearly every other aspect of my life is because a nickel landed on heads. My coworker has a big ego and thinks she knows best. We had a patient who received home visits. He had a medical condition that, if observed by a newcomer, might cause alarm, but we were very much informed about it and familiar with it. Instructions were that the condition was normal for him, not a concern in itself. One day the patient's wife and my coworker seemed to have some kind of power struggle / disagreement about his condition and treatment, and the coworker ended up calling an ambulance for his long-term unchanged condition that we were very familiar with. He was taken to hospital, and while there caught an infection. This infection impacted his eating, and he lost a lot of weight fast. His condition deteriorated over the next few months and he passed away. Honestly, it wasn't unexpected that he might pass, but it seems the specific scenario it ended up happening stemmed from that unnecessary hospital visit. This happened 2 days ago. It was early in the morning, and as I'm about to leave for work, when my mom reminded me that I forgot my water bottle on the table while I was walking out. For whatever reason, I decided to go leave my backpack in the car and then walk back into the house for the water bottle. Well, that took about maybe 10 seconds total. It started to rain heavily on my way to work and couldn't see very well, but I noticed the brake lights of the cars ahead stopping suddenly and some moving off onto the shoulder, and decided to slow down and put the hazard lights on for the people behind to slow down. Well, turns out everyone was braking because a 425 car accident had just happened seconds before. All the cars were scattered across the highway, spread across the left/right shoulders, and another had hit the crash barrier. Basically a total bad mess. The drivers were still in their cars, I guess, processing what had just happened. After seeing it, I immediately started to think that if I hadn't gone back for the water bottle, there's a chance that I could have easily been in the accident, or at least even closer to it. It tripped me out for the rest of the day.